All right, we have Garrett Bucklin, All-American in college. His collegiate career was phenomenal. Played in several different positions in the indoor game. Was a defensive player of the year as a libero, and then the next following year went on and became an All-American as a setter, and now a pro beach volleyball player. So Garrett Bucklin, welcome. Glad to have you chatting for a while on some of these awesome things we're going to talk about.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Glad to have you. So listen, let's jump right into it. We talked about a lot of things before we kind of got on this call. What do you contribute your high level of performance to? You've been playing at such a high level at a young age and still continue to do it. So what's some of the things you contribute to that?
Well, one of the biggest things I say that contributes to my high level performance is really just getting more reps than the other guy. Okay, I've been playing since I was a kid, and I played as much as I could when I was younger. I took advantage of camps, summer leagues, playing with my parents, just getting outside, doing anything unique you could do to just touch a volleyball, play volleyball. Getting more touches. If I'm thinking, the guy that I'm playing against has, let's say, 10,000 reps on passing the ball, I'm like, all right, I have 20,000, 50,000. So just going out and playing as much as I can. And as I continue to get older and play at the next level, I think one of the biggest things is kind of focused reps. So kind of understanding what your game looks like and how you should try and improve your game, and then having those focused reps on improving those specific skills.
Yeah. So you're looking at, you kind of have a vision of what's going on, where you want to be at, and
absolutely
what you're struggling with, what you're doing well, and working on those things.
Definitely.
How often do you feel like you work on that physical game? So you're training right now, and how often are you doing that?
I try to get out there as much as I can. So I do 3 to 4 times a week right now, whether I'm, working out or if I'm out there training by myself. You can do things on your own, whether you're just serving or, whatever. And then also going out and playing. If you get a group of 4, people often want to play. I try to get like a good hour of training with them, again, on something focused, and then play with them, because once you get into a game, it's pretty easy to forget exactly what you're working on and be more focused on winning, to where it doesn't really matter if you win in practice so much, even if you're, because you want to focus on exactly what's going to make you win, later on.
Yeah. So I've always said this. I think I've probably said it to you before, but I'm a big believer that to hit peak performance, it's a 3-headed monster. It's about the skill work. So kind of what you said, putting in the reps on your skill. It's about weight room, yep. And it's also about exercising your mind. Really strengthening that mind, and being more resilient. So for you, what's resilience mean for you, and how did you develop it, and how are you developing it?
So resilience to me is really just overcoming adversity. So it's something that it's almost like act like you've been there before. And if you have been there before, even better, right? But when you're out there and the pressure's getting to you and it's a big moment, it's always good to just kind of sit back and think, hey, this isn't championship point in, an AVP tournament. Maybe it is, but even if it is, it doesn't matter. It's, you got to serve this ball, or you got to pass this ball, right? It's whatever the skill is that you got to do next that you want to work on. So I always try to keep, a level head, because if you're high energy, low energy, then those swings of momentum can be worse. So in terms of resilience, I just want to stay level and think about, okay, this is a point that I've done a million times, focus on this contact, don't think about the bigger picture. You can celebrate the bigger picture once it's over, but right now it's just that one contact at a time.
Yeah. You're a beach guy, so you get the ride the wave,
yep,
whole format of that, right? That's something that you always look at. So
absolutely,
it's so easy, and especially in a sport with beach volleyball, you're playing 2-man on the beach. It's so easy to have those momentum swings because of your mindset, right? You're kind of up and down with things. There's so many different things going on. That's definitely, I love that, being able to be level, just being consistent with that mindset as much as you want to be consistent with the physical part of your game too. So Awesome. With that, do you have like a pregame routine, or do you have a routine that that gets you ready for the day, or a routine that gets you ready for the next match? Like, can you walk me through what you have?
So I don't have an exact pregame ritual that I do per se. For the day before a tournament, this would probably be the best ritual that I have. And it's just very basic. Get to bed early, drink lots of water, and stretch out. Okay. But on right before you jump into a game, you got to get those muscles ready. Again, it's stretching and things like that. But to me, it's a little bit more than that. I want to get in the sand. I try to do like a low pepper and move, get those fast twitch muscles going and dive in the sand, get a little sandy, because then you're not going to be as hesitant when the ball comes over the net and, oh, I haven't even dived yet. Like I already dove, right? It's just, so I think that's a good way to go about it and start it out.
Cool. And when, so now you're in the game. How do you get ready? Because obviously you get some breaks in the game. You got 8 to 20 seconds in between plays, shagging balls after a long scud and things like that. How do you get back into the play? How do you get ready for that next play?
So this is one of my favorite things to kind of talk about. And I feel like I'm a little bit known for it in the area, to where it's just taking your time. And, if that ball goes flying somewhere else and you got to go shag it, I'm just going to go walk and shag it and just, reset, go back there. And then one of the biggest things I always do is really focus on my breathing. Okay. If I'm going back to serve, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. I might even do it a couple of times before I serve. Probably bugs people because it takes so long. But anytime I'm doing that, if I'm just focusing on the breathing, I know my head's in the right spot. I'm ready to do whatever action I need to do, pass that ball, serve that ball, whatever. So again, it's just that level. And I'd like to say that it kind of depends on who you are as a person, what works for you. There's plenty of athletes out there that, are high energy and jumping and screaming or whatever. That's just not who I am. I'm going to be someone that's going to be just kind of chilled out and, almost lull them to sleep. But that's just the way I like to play. And I like to be at that level and just almost just chill on the court and get your mind right with the breathing and then, perform.
Yeah, you find your thing. It's funny. Every question that I'll ever get, I almost the first answer that I always give them, or first suggestion that I'll give them, is, "Are you breathing?"
Mm-hmm.
Because you watch so many athletes out there, and especially so many young athletes, they're so caught up in what's going on, so the breathing becomes really shallow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they've lost their body's now gone because their mind's not staying it. So it just it's a domino effect, for sure. Do you visualize it all? Do you visualize in before the game at all? Do you visualize as you're taking that walk to go back to serve? Or
realistically, in the game, I don't really visualize. When I utilize visualization is when I'm working out and I'm training. So if I'm, doing a workout and I'm really pushing weight, or I'm tired and my abs are hurting or whatever, that's when I'm thinking about, okay, what is my goal? What am I trying to attain? And that'll help me push through. I think all the time when I'm doing a workout, like, hey, if I don't do this rep, you're not winning this tournament. And, okay, I finished the rep. All right, now I feel good. But when I'm in the game, I really just try to lock in on like the next point. I really try and focus at one point at a time. If I'm thinking too far into the future, to me, it's just unnecessary. I want to be one point at a time and get through that, and then go from there.
Awesome. How about after a mistake? So we kind of talked about a little bit of a ritual that you have the breathing prior to plays.
Yep.
Obviously with volleyball, you either win the play or you lose the play. It's usually because of something that you did.
Yep.
How do you rebound? What are you saying to yourself? What's going on there?
Yeah. So when mistakes happen, I feel like there's really two different types of mistakes. There's probably a million, but for the first instance, if it's a mistake, that's something that needs to be adjusted, take my time, chat with my partner, see if we can make an adjustment and go from there. But typically a mistake is something where I didn't have control over it, or it was just an error and, next point. Okay. The past is the past. You can't change it now. Go back, take a breath, get back and serve, receive, whatever it might be. And like you said, with volleyball, I mean, the defensive team or the serve receive team should win most points, right? So, a mistake could be them just hitting a ball that you couldn't get to. And, that's the reality. That's what's supposed to happen. So you've always got to have that short-term memory and just go back and be like, all right, hey, they scored this point. Maybe they made an awesome play. It was a long rally. They made that point. all right, hey, you know what? Go back, settle back in.
Yeah.
Next point. That's all you got to focus on, because you can't change what just happened. So
Awesome. Yeah, I think so many young players don't really process the fact that the team you're playing against, they're doing their job too, right?
Mhm.
So they're gonna get points. They're gonna
Right.
get runs, and that's part of because they're doing their job. So as
Yep.
long as you're taking care of things on your side and rebounding the right way, you tend to be more consistent. So
Exactly.
yeah, awesome. We talk a lot about like one word phrases, one word, like you said, reset,
Yep.
things that kind of click for you so that when you hear that word, it triggers your mind to whatever, maybe take a breath or slow down or speed up, but then get you into that right frame of mind, kind of that flow state to get going again. Do you have a word that you use? Do you have a phrase that you use?
Yeah, I mean, I think the phrase typically is just one at a time, just 1 point at a time. And I think that can be used no matter where you're in a game. If you are tied up and you're in a battle, hey, one point at a time. Right here, just let's get this point. Let's go. If we're way down and we're down by 12, hey, let's get this point, 1 point here. And, if we're way up and we don't want to lose the lead, hey, one at a time. I think it's kind of a universal thing. And it's almost the way you say it too. It's kind of settling you in, it's settling your partner. And yeah, it's just that reset, just like you said. And yeah, 1 point, we'll get it here, move on to the next one. Even if we just scored a point, hey, let's get, 1 point here. And it's always going to be one at a time. You can't get a 3-pointer. So
Right.
just one at a time.
One big bounce is just one big point.
Exactly. Yep. Doesn't matter how pretty it is.
How big is your self-talk? Do you notice your self-talk when you're playing?
I don't really. Let's see. My self-talk. I don't really notice much about my self-talk. I feel like it kind of depends on who I'm playing with, though. I usually know going in what my partner is going to need from me. So in terms of, does he need that confidence boost? Does he just need me to be quiet and let him do his thing, which, hey, to each their own, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, to me, it's always just that reset. Just, hey, you shanked that ball. Hey, you're good. Next point. And just keep going from there.
Yeah. Now you mentioned an important point. You're playing beach volleyball with two people, so it's you and somebody else.
Yep.
And if your partner has that negative self-talk, your partner has a little bit of that self-doubt creeping in,
Definitely.
how do you, handle that without, you want to empower him, but you also don't want to bring yourself down, right? So
Yep.
being able to have that self-talk, being aware is really a big component of being able to stay in that level consistent state, having that good flow.
Yep.
So that's actually a really great point. I think a lot of things too, you can look at a lot of players with their body mannerisms. They may not be saying something, but you can look at them and go, oh man, they're done. They're defeated.
Yep. Oh, 100%. I see it all the time.
Partner, right? Hopefully
Yep.
it's not the guy you're playing with. So
Yep.
yeah, hugely important. So let's shift gears a little bit from the volleyball skill and the mental part of it, and let's talk a little bit about character.
Okay.
What's your definition of character? And you're doing some coaching too. We talked a little bit about that before this call. And how do you instill in your coaching character? Like, how are you teaching it? How are you developing it for yourself? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think character is just something that encapsulates a person as a whole. So it encapsulates you as a friend, as a competitor, and even as a stranger, just how you talk to people in general and how you kind of look at life. But when I'm coaching people, I absolutely try and build character because, and we talked about this a little bit before, but it's just about, it's not all about volleyball skills, but it's also making you a person that you can be proud of. So when I'm training, especially if I'm doing like private lessons with kids and we're really trying to hone in on a specific skill, that's where frustration can kind of creep in, and just having them understand that we're trying to break a bad habit or, really focus in on something. And it's okay that the outcome isn't what you're looking for. We're looking for the skill and the mechanics to be correct, not necessarily for the outcome to be there yet. The outcome will come, but we're more focused in on that, and having them kind of know that in their head and be comfortable. I love this saying, comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Yeah. Because it's so important. Never in your life are you going to be 100% comfortable in every single situation. But if you can expect to be uncomfortable and be okay with it, you're just going to go into that situation in such a better headspace and be able to, overcome. So,
yeah, it's so important. I think for young athletes to understand how they react to situations is one, it's going to determine the outcome.
Yep.
And if they react negatively, then it's probably going to be a negative outcome.
Yep.
If they react positively, then the outcome's going to be a better chance of more favor for them.
Right.
But it also helps build relationships, and it shows what you're about, because how you respond to that's going to be really just a bigger picture for you in life and what you're doing with people, and
Right.
So that's really important. So that's spot on. I love that. So moving from character, obviously you're building character, and now when you have character, you tend to start to develop leadership. You tend to start to have more leadership skills. What's your definition of leadership, and how do you like to develop that?
Ooh, definition of leadership. Man, I don't even. It encapsulates so much. I guess it's about getting the best out of your team, or best out of your situation, and I think that the way that's said is really important, because there's no one way to be a great leader. Okay, and I think it's really important when I'm with a partner and I'm playing with somebody to understand how they react to different things and being able to say them in different ways. So, for instance, if I'm practicing with a partner and we're just out there on a Wednesday, we got a tournament on Saturday, I might be a little bit more aggressive in terms of trying to get him to understand certain things and make sure that we're cleaning things up. But in a game, it's not so important about that stuff. If he makes a mistake and he looks like his face drops, maybe he doesn't need me to go over and say, hey, you got this. Maybe he doesn't need that. Maybe he needs silence. Maybe he just needs a high five, but kind of understanding the situation that you're in. It's not important, hey, shift over to the left to pass that ball. He knows, he doesn't need me to come over and tell him that. But me going over and just being like, hey, I'm with you. Like, we're here. We're like, next point, like, no worries. Maybe that's going to give him the push that he needs.
Yeah. I think, and we've worked, obviously, coaching you for a few years, and we've worked on this a lot. And I think what for me, what really summarizes the leadership that I've seen from you is that, one, you figured out who you are and what you want, right? And then two, you've built trust, and so the more that you know who you are, then you start to act off of your values.
Right.
So your values are now being displayed to the people, that your players, your teammates that you're working with. You're starting to build trust. And then, the second component would be getting results. And how do you get results? It's just kind of what you just said, is you're empowering your teammates.
Right.
What do they need? And it's not about you, but eventually it will be once you get those results. That's awesome. I think, so you've been at the game for a while. How long do you feel like you've had decent leadership skills? You started at a really young age.
Yeah. So it was always a little interesting for me, because when I started playing, I was playing pickup volleyball with adults, and I would find myself at like 12 years old being a little bit more skilled than these adults. And I'd be like, oh, hey, like, you should put your arms together to pass this ball. And they'd be like, what is that? Like, go away,
Right.
So it's kind of finding that balance. And I was in that situation for a long time. When I went through high school, I was a freshman, and I'd play on varsity, sophomore year, play on varsity. And again, they'd kind of have that hesitation, but it's about that trust. I think as the season went on, they'd trust my word a little bit more. And then by the time I became a junior and a senior, I was that figure that people would actually listen to. So I feel like that almost depends on who you're with. And if they're open to listening, I'm going to be much more open to helping.
Yeah.
So I think it started developing at a young age, but then even when you went to college, it was a whole nother beast. My freshman year, again, there's no trust. Nobody knows who I am. So it took a couple of years before, and you could notice the different people. It took a couple of years before most of the players would kind of look to me. And by the time I was a junior and a senior, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, it's Garrett. I'm going to go and he knows what he's talking about. But again, it's that level of trust.
A little more seamless with the trust.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's pretty crazy that, I look back at your career and how young you started, and it was, people giving you information, people giving you information, people giving you information, and then all of a sudden at one point, it seemed like probably your junior year in your collegiate career, you became an All-American. You had player, and to become an All-American, you need a team, so it's not just you put the work in, but you put the work in with your team as well to make it a team. So that's a huge component for you as a leader. And now you're playing, with some of the best in the country on the beach. So it's pretty cool how it comes full circle, because it just rewards you in the end once you have that character and once you have that leadership. It's pretty awesome. So
I think one little thing too was even right when I got to Riv, I was just looking to get on the court. I was looking to better the team. So I wasn't coming in and being like, hey, I'm an outside hitter. I'm going to be an outside hitter. I'm going to be, going to beat this person out for the spot. Every season I'd come in and be like, hey, we just lost our best libero. Hey, we just lost our only setter. And I think people kind of saw that and was like, oh, he's just trying to be on the court and he's just trying to, fill holes in the team to make our team as a whole better. Yeah. I could have very easily stayed as libero and, maybe been an All-American through being a libero and gotten my records of digs on the wall or something, but I missed out on all those like career records because I jumped from position to position just to try and make that team a whole, which I don't regret at all. Don't get me wrong. But, I think people could see that and they respected that all the more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that goes back to the character point.
Yeah.
And you played every position except for middle hitter. So that just showed, and you filled in seamlessly. You did it without any kind of,
Yep.
I don't want to say like attitude, but you did it with a great attitude, and you did what the team needed. And then you ended up winning. Obviously becoming an All-American, but you also ended up winning a conference championship, going to the NCAA tournament your senior year, which broke a cycle of a couple of years in a row of not doing that. So, the more that you do selfless activities for a team, the more it rewards everybody involved, and then you were able to reap it as well. So awesome, man. Let's transition now to the end. We talked about kind of like the prep for things. We talked about character and leadership in the middle. What about the off season? What about your training? How do you stay motivated? How do you stay committed? What's some of the things that you do to work on that?
So it's a little bit about what we talked about before, but it's again, it's that visualization in the off season. I think I utilize that a lot more when I'm training and practicing and off season, absolutely, rather than actually in the game. And it's just, picturing yourself winning these things that you would want to win. So getting back into Newport when I was away for a couple of years, or, qualifying for an AVP event and doing all these different things. And that visualization is what pushes me to train harder. And I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, like, hey, if I train today, maybe he's not training today. Train tomorrow, he's not training 4 times a week, whoever, train more than the other guy, and you're gonna, reap the benefits. So it's always that competitive nature mixed with, setting your goals up and, knowing what you're kind of striving for.
Do you plan ahead? Do you do you make a plan for like 6 months ahead, and then 3 months ahead, and 1 month, or how's that work for you?
I do try to. So this past season, off season, I did a Air Alert. It was a workout for Air Alert, and it's 12 weeks, I think. And it was pretty much, they said it right away going in, that if you do like the full 12-week program, the last like 6 weeks almost, your legs are just dead. So I'd go and train and I just couldn't move, or I'd play and I just stink because I couldn't jump at all. So I had to plan that out to make sure that I was done in April, and then, June, July, I'd be in a better spot and be able to jump or whatever. But yeah, you definitely have to plan out and make sure you do things. And it even works the same way during the summer. If I come off a tournament on a Saturday, I know I need to work out Monday, Tuesday, maybe Thursday would be the last day. Friday's got to be a rest day. Saturday, come in ready. Always understanding what your body needs in terms of training and then in terms of rest as well. So if you if I worked out hard on Friday, I don't think I'm performing well on Saturday. So
Yeah. And I'm assuming you probably assess, how your practice went and, what you
definitely
work on for the next day. And
pages and pages of notes in my phone talking about usually it's not what I did well. It's usually what I did poorly and what I want to work on, all these different things. And my game is constantly evolving, which is what it has to be. Yeah. You can't stay stagnant. And so, yeah.
How routine based are you?
It's actually pretty tough to be routine based in my situation. I feel like I bounce around a lot. I travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of moving parts as of right now, but I do love getting in a routine if I can. But yeah, typically it's not very routine based. Through the summer, I'm bouncing around, traveling a lot. So if you're going to work out and do whatever, you're going to have to be able to be flexible and do it out, in the yard somewhere, or in the hotel room doing some burpees, whatever it might be. But yeah.
But you're still trying to hit your goals one way or the other.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Even, and it's really, really tough. And maybe that's a point that you were going towards is, life is messy. It's not stagnant for all of us, very common. So, making sure that you still understand your goals and you're always pushing for that goal, no matter where you are, it doesn't really matter. You still got to get your reps in, get your training in, do the right things, whether you're comfortable at home or on the road. We've taken trips plenty of times where we don't even get a hotel room. We just drive down, sleep in the car. You still got to do what you need to do. You still try to go to bed early, even though you're just reclining in your chair,
Right.
So yeah, always having that focus, no matter if things are changing around you. So
I think the most successful athletes I've worked with that have been, you can tell when they're locked in their off season and they're really committed to what's going on. What they do is, they're hard on themselves, but they realize, okay, like you said, life's messy. Like, I didn't get this done today.
Right.
I'm not going to make it 2 days in a row that doesn't get done.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah, definitely.
Seems like it works out well for the high level athletes for sure.
Yep, definitely.
Awesome. All right. Bonus question. Last one. What's one thing a coach has told you that has stuck with you over your career up to now or earlier in your career? What's one thing that really stands out for you?
I mean, there's just so many things. And to be honest, I don't know. I don't even know where some of these coaching things came from. And you can tell me if I think they were from you, but you can tell me if they are or not. But I mean, one of the biggest things that I always try to think about is the ABCs. Yeah. You talk about the ABCs, right? Yeah. I preach that every day when I'm coaching, and I do it all the time when I'm playing. And for those of you who don't know what the ABCs are, it's basically just the 3 actions that you want to perform every time when you're performing a skill correctly. Okay. And the ABCs, the way I teach it is they're different for every single person. So I have people write them down in their phone and just say, if we're working on passing, what are the 3 things you want to remember every single time you pass that ball? Thumbs down, elbows out, whatever the heck they are. And they're constantly evolving. As you feel confident in one, you can erase that and put another one. And you could have ABCs down to F if you wanted. But I think that works in any regard. For right now, my ABCs is, breathing is the most important thing that I'm trying to work on. And then every skill has a certain thing. But another one, because I could list them off forever, would just be being goal oriented, always having a goal in mind and having something that you can strive for. And I think this is a great rule of thumb, even in just life and in just, any time, is if you have something that you're trying to strive for, it's going to push you to work harder and push you to continue moving forward. Because if you don't, and you're just, stagnant, you don't have that drive. And that drive is what's going to make your life better, make you happier, and make you attain your goals,
Yeah.
So I think that's just super, super important to understand.
The 2 tidbits of gold right there. I always talk about, every time I talk to athletes, I always talk about you need to be a dreamer.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And that's exactly what you just said with that
Mm-hmm.
goal oriented situation. You want to have a vision to be able to say, this is what I want to be, this is what I want to do. And then that goes back to, you now develop motivation and commitment, you now develop routines, you now develop character, you develop leadership, like all those things. It's a hero code, basically. You set that goal in place and you go after what you want to be. And once you set your mind to that, your mind's going to bring you in that direction. You're going to start doing it physically.
Right.
Start going from there. One quick question on your ABCs. Why do you do ABCs? What's the purpose of it?
The ABC, it's just for you to think about the right things. So I think especially if you're in that moment, you know, maybe you're in the state championship and you got to pass this ball or whatever. So often people are like, hey, it's the state championship, I got to pass this ball. But realistically, that's not what's going to make that ball go up and be a nice pass. Realistically, it's going to be, you know, getting your butt down, get your arms out early, taking that prep step, whatever it is that you want to work on. So I really think it's just understanding what you need to do to perform that skill correctly. And it's making you think about the right things.
Awesome. Yeah, so true. Slows the mind down. Just worry about 3 things, not 22 things at once.
Right. Definitely.
Awesome. Dude, this was amazing. I really appreciate your time. Garrett Bucklin, he is, again, a pro beach volleyball player. You can see him in the East Coast down in Rhode Island. You can see him in the West Coast, moving out there in a few months, moving out to Del Mar, I think you said?
Yep, eventually.
Be training out there, and then also just traveling around the nation, trying to qualify and get better each tour. So really appreciate your time. You have anything you want to pitch at all? You have any social media or anything you want to go on there at all?
Nah, no, don't really.
Garrett Bucklin, you'll find him.
Look me up. No, I don't.
All right, man. I appreciate your time. Best of luck down the road. We'll talk again.
Sounds good. Good to see you.
Stay on the line. Though. We'll talk a little more.
Sounds good.
All right, Garrett.